Byron's sights were set much further east. After Spain and Malta, where he had affairs with married women and collected locks of their hair, he headed to the wildest country in the Western world. It was a blank space on the map that few Englishmen had ever visited. Byron called it Terra Incognita. Its real name, Albania. This violent and forbidding land was to have a remarkable effect on Byron. It would inspire the poem that would change his life. Here, finally in Albania, Byron was lost to his own world.
And so am I. This is one of the last unknown spots in Europe, and I'm planning to live dangerously. The church bells of Cambridge must never have seemed further away.
The two friends must have had their hearts in their mouths as they climbed these treacherous hills.
No nation are so detested, said Byron, and dreaded by their neighbours than the Albanese. Their habits are predatory, all are armed.
Albania was ruled by the most bloodthirsty despot in Europe, the ferocious Ali Pasha, not known for his kindness to strangers. Byron was determined to meet him, not least because of Ali Pasha's spirited resistance to his Ottoman overlords. The two boys embarked on a hazardous journey into the heart of bandit country. Remarkably, the brutal warlord sent soldiers to escort them. Byron was thrilled. Sadly, I've just got my guide and Byron expert, Auron, and a couple of donkey bashers.
More or less 200 years ago, today, Byron was coming down this actual road. One of the things Byron liked here was the very bonded male society. I think he very much appreciated that, and actually even wrote about, rather nastily, about the women, saying that since the weather was so nice, it was quite a good job that they were out building the roads and labouring. And I guess he was asserting himself in a way as a man as well, because remember, he had a crippled foot and he was kind of effeminate in a way.
And I think those guys kind of embraced him in a way.
Yeah.
They didn't judge him who he was or anything like that. It just kind of, you know, is part of them.
As Byron travelled to Pasha's castle, surrounded by his band of soldiers, something clicked. He was at the centre of an extraordinary unfolding story. Much of the detail of his journey so far was too scandalous for diary form, so he semi-fictionalized it in the most celebrated travel blog in the history of the English language, as a poem about a boy called not Byron, but Harold.
Left the primal city of the land, and onwards did his further journey take, to greet Albania's chief, whose dread command is lawless law, for with a bloody hand he sways a nation, turbulent and bold. Da -da. What do you think? It's good stuff.
Matching Byron's lust for life was his power to describe it in every lurid detail. Child Harold's pilgrimage would enthrall everyone who could read in Regency England and make him as famous as the prince. Byron reinvented himself as that very modern kind of celebrity, someone whose art and life are one. He didn't travel just to see, but to be seen. He had himself painted in this splendid Albanian costume. 2 centuries on, and I'm expected to model a distinctly tacky copy.
I'll put this on first.
Yes.
This feels pretty sissy.
Putting it on made me wonder, where did the real Byron end and the poseur begin? Like the smartest of stars, he was too playful, too ironic to ever let you know.
No one could have chosen a more stupid headdress if they tried. I feel like my mother going out to a village hall meeting of the village council. She loves red and gold and a nice white skirt. Byron, I don't really feel like. I feel like a whirling dervish? No. And this is what it was meant to look like. The thing that's interesting, I think, about Byron here is how self-aware he was, how aware he was of building his own image up, rather like David Bowie's Ziggy Stardust or something, this child Harold, who was going to be painted, etched, he was going to appear in lithographs, and this young boy, incredibly arrogant at this point, very into himself. He knew exactly, in terms of career, where he was going to go, I think, and that's quite extraordinary. So, I'd love to get out of this costume ASAP. It makes you feel a bit of a twat sometimes. I mean, I feel like a twat most of the time anyway, but...
Byron's flamboyant nature was about to meet its match. The warlord Ali Pasha's taste for pretty young men was well known. When he did finally meet the young English lord, he liked what he saw. As Byron wrote to his mother, Pasha remarked on "my small ears, curling hair and little white hands," and expressed himself pleased with my appearance and garb. He sent me almonds and sugared sherbet 20 times a day, even asking for me at night when he was more at leisure. Byron was more than just flattered by the warlord's advances. He might have enjoyed shagging women, but I don't think he was particularly interested in them. He even claimed they didn't have souls. So the sheer power behind Ali Pasha's embrace must have made his hair stand up on end, if nothing else.
What was Ali Pasha's position with women? Everyone says he was a screaming old queen, basically.
Yeah, he's an interesting character.
What do they think in Albania if I was to say on national television that he had an affair with Byron, for example? Would I be... would I be put into the pillory?
Not at all. I mean, I think it did.
Oh, really? Tell me.
Well, from what little we know, I mean, there are some kind of hints that they might have something.
When Byron finally reached Ali Pasha's fabulous castle, he found a wealth of dramatic material for his alter ego that would shock and thrill his audience.
Now, this is one of the entrance to the castle.
Right.
But obviously this is not what the castle used to look. I mean, there is a great description of Byron when you walk in with the imam praying and the
drums beating,
the horses
eunuchs,
around.
Greeks,
Yep.
Nubians,
it's a great description that he
Tartars.
In daring to make this pilgrimage, Byron wasn't only collecting raw data for his epic travelogue Childe Harold, but setting the tone for the rest of his life. Impetuous, reckless, amoral, he lived for the moment.
And this is the gate I believe they walked in.
Oh, a lot of rubbish.
It's very sad the way it is, but this is the entrance where they came. And you can see the view. You can see for miles here.
And you could just hear the cattle bells.
Oh yeah, easy.
So you could hear people coming probably from miles off up here. This castle feels like it really is kind of Hollywood does the Orient. Well, you always see it endlessly in Hollywood, huge painted castles on the tops of rocks, and English travellers kind of going up with a mule up the hill, knocking on the boom, boom, boom door and opening, and you see this kind of orgy of Nubian slaves and eunuchs and Greek soldiers and Tartars, all the things that are in here, and drums going boom, 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 boom. And it really is like that in a way. And this huge, mammoth, bisexual man with long fingers covered in jewels, fingering our poor Lord Byron. It's all very exciting.
Lord Byron was soon to become the first real celebrity. And it was in Albania that the mutual adoration needed between a star and his audience first blossomed. Word is out that I'm doing a film about him, so I've been invited onto Albania's biggest talk show. Byron championed Albania in his poetry, and remarkably, he's still a national hero here. I've got to be on this Albanian chat show for 2 whole hours. That's spreading even me a little bit thin. I'm going to kill my bloody director when I get my hands on him. However, like Byron, I'm going to put my best withered foot forward.
The strange thing is, in Albania, people seem to know Byron much better than they do in England. But it was really actually only coming here, in a way, to Albania, where I started to discover really what Byron meant in the 19th century to the rest of the world.
Byron was a flirt and a gossip. He detested mealy-mouthed diplomacy, an attitude that I've learned can have a price.
Madonna, ne kemi dhe fotografinë që mund ta shfaqim ndërkohë në ekran dhe në një moment në libër thoni që djersin sex appeal.
She sweats sex appeal. No, I said she sweats.
She sweats.
Jo, kam thënë thjesht që djersin, jo djersin sex appeal.
Byron made the Albanian warlord Ali Pasha famous in the West with his flattering portrayal of this brutal yet noble revolutionary and his fight for Albanian independence. And the Albanians returned the favor. Byron is immortalized across the land.
What it says is the famous quote about savage nurse to a rugged man. No, rugged nurse to a savage man. Hi. Can one of these children please read this to me?
The Albanians, cut off from the West for decades, have an extraordinary appetite for poetry. Everyone seems to have heard of Byron.
What does that mean then?
Albania, let me bend my eyes on thee, you rugged nurse of savage man.
All right. What is this place called?
Lord Byron.
Oh, this is Sheshi. Oh, squares, Sheshi.
Yes.
Sheshi Lord Byron. Okay. And where's the Socialist Communist Party headquarters? Where? Yeah, because I want to start a revolution and become communist in Albania again. What do you think? Yeah? No? No?
No.
Oh, okay. Well, I won't then. Cheers. Cheers. Cheers.
Lord Byron had found himself in Albania. His passion and pansexuality that had been so at odds with Regency England had been fired here. Surrounded by the 50 soldiers that Ali Pasha had assigned to him, the English lord and his poetic alter ego were in their element. But as the flames along their faces gleamed, their gestures nimble, dark eyes flashing free, the long wild locks that to their girdles streamed, while thus in concert they half sang, half screamed. As Byron prepared to continue his journey, he was empowered and emboldened.
Doors kept opening with new possibilities, and all these new possibilities were absolutely like stars coming into line. He'd felt this sexual ambiguity in himself. He'd realized it wasn't accepted in the milieu that he came from, in the country that he came from. And on his travels, he suddenly discovered that all the things he was feeling, other people were feeling. Not only other people, but the most powerful people around. The butcher's warlord actually was fancying him. I think it gave him this life's destiny of pushing and pushing and pushing. Tennessee Williams, when he writes about Lord Byron in the kind of acid trip play Camino Real, Byron's last line as he leaves Camino Real is, "Make journeys, attempt them, there's nothing else."